Hello. Hey, everyone. Hey, everyone. It's Devon from the Maniology team with our weekly live every Tuesday at 1:30 p.m. Hawaii Standard Time. You can find us here on another nail stamping journey. Whether it's a tutorial, technique, or hack, we're here to discuss the details, and we're so happy you could join. So we want to just give you a few updates. So don't forget that we never want you to miss a Maniology live. So make sure to hit the subscribe button if you love our videos. Remember to share our content with your friends and feel free to leave a comment with suggestions for future content. One little reminder before we get into the live, if you're looking for some trendy and fashionable pieces to add to your wardrobe, look no further than Maniology's new merch line, which includes graphic tees, hoodies, totes, and more. Go to maniology.com to check it out, and it's available now. So this week for live, we are talking all about nail foils. We're going to get into the nitty gritty, and I'm going to share my pro tips with you on how to use nail foils. So hello everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy to be here with you all. Before we get into this live, I want to talk to you guys about some of the things you're going to need. So when you're working with nail foils, you're going to need a sticky base coat, nail foil glue, and you will need your smudge-free top coat, which I thought I had with me, but I guess I didn't. Give me one sec. So don't forget, you need a little smudge-free top coat. Those are the three things, or how many things did I list? 3 things besides your nail foils that you'll need. So in order to start doing nail foil, you will need, the bare minimum is your smudge-free and a sticky base coat. That's the bare minimum. If you can, please grab some foil glue, which again, we linked all the products below. So if you need to check some things out, go ahead and click on those links because we have everything you'll need to get started. And all of these items are in stock. So the things that I'm using today are definitely available. So make sure you grab it if you need some items. And hello again, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Okay, so where do we even start? There's so much to cover in this live. Buckle up, it's gonna be a longer one. Make sure you grab your snacks and get cozy because we have so much to discuss. The first thing I want to share with you is our very first tip about nail foils. So let me open this up. Aloha. And I'm just gonna show you. I'm gonna grab a little piece. Actually, let's try a more fun color. Let's do the teal because it's so pretty. And I'm gonna just show you the back side of this foil. Okay, so my very first tip when you're working with foils, always make sure that the matte side is facing down on top of the nail. It should never be the matte side facing up. It always needs to be matte side facing down. And it doesn't matter what foil you're using, it should always be the matte side facing down. So this is something that I've noticed a lot of people experience issues with. They ask, oh, how come my foil isn't transferring? A lot of times it's because they're using the shiny face, the shiny side face down on their nail, but actually this is a clear plastic protective coating, which you will see later when we get into the demonstration. And this kind of makes sure that the transfer foil stays protected. So you want to make sure that, again, the matte side is always facing down on the nail when you're using it. And that is my tip number 1. And I'm going to show you what that looks like. Whoops. Here too. So as you can see with our pretty holographic foils, this is the shiny side. We want to make sure the matte side faces down. So you can see it looks very different, the matte side versus the shiny. So it's really hard to mistake which side is the correct side. So make sure it's always facing down so that way you get a nice transfer. If you try to do it facing up, nothing will transfer and you're gonna wonder what the heck is going on. So that is tip number 1. Okay. The second tip is when you're using foils, make sure that your bases are completely dry. Look at this. So you can see I'm really gonna push in there. And absolutely no fingerprint mark. That's what we want. When you work with foils, tip number 2 is always make sure your base is 100% dry. Not partially dry, not a little dry, it needs to be 100% dry. And the reason for that is when you're using transfer foils and we start getting into the demo and I show you, if the polish is wet, you're gonna rip off the polish base with your foils, and that's not what we wanna do. So again, make sure this is always 100% dry. So that is my tip number 2 for using foils. Now I think I can show you some other things. So I want to show you the difference between foils, because not all foils are created equally. And here is what I mean. Also look at this, you see this? Because I was handling it too much, it scratched a little bit, so watch. You see how the transfer is coming off? It's always important to make sure that you put your foils in a protective container like this and roll them up if possible, so that way this doesn't happen. You don't want to wrinkle your foils because then you're going to have, you know, some missing spots. And that can be really difficult, especially if you want like a full coverage look. So I took a piece of our cream foils and now I'm going to just grab a piece of our metallic foils, because I want to show you something. By the way, how's everybody's Tuesday going? I hope you're having an amazing day. It has been very eventful for me today. Can I use a regular base and top coat? Oh yeah, you don't have to use gel with nail foils. You do have to use a particular top coat, which I will talk about in a little bit. But something to note about both of these foils, not all foils are created equally. Some foils are different, meaning they're thicker, and some are thinner. So I don't know if you can tell, but like this foil, that's why I'm trying to like roll it up and show you. It's so soft. It's really, really soft. Foils like this are going to be really easy to work with. They're going to have nice full transfers. And this foil, you can even hear it. It's a lot thicker. So these types of foils are good for different types of techniques. Listen to this one again. It's very soft. And then you listen to this one. It's thicker. So part of the reason why the foils are different and they're not all the same is because sometimes the pigments are different. Like the type of pigments used to create the different foils matter, and that sometimes affects how soft or thin the foil is. So for example, this one, these holographic foils are ultra thin and very soft. They're so pretty. They can be used in a wide variety of ways. This one is a lot thicker. It can still be used for several different techniques, but sometimes when you're working with thicker foils, what you're really going to need is a different type of adhesive. And I'm going to show you in a little bit the different types that we are going to be working with. So when you're working with a thicker foil, you're going to want to use something like the nail foil glue that we sell online. That is going to give you the best transfer because it's nice and thick. It's going to give you a much more even full coverage transfer. When you're working with really thin foils like this, you can use the sticky base coat. It's not very tacky for those of you who've worked with it, and you'll know that it's actually, it barely even feels sticky like at all, but that's enough to transfer something like this. So if you have maybe a little bit of a more difficult time working with a foil that feels a little bit thicker, just try using a different adhesive. You'll notice that it'll be much easier to work with. And for those of you who struggle with the full coverage look, I will be showing you how to get that like this very soon. So for those of you that are asking the nail foil glue versus regular polish, both are easy to remove. It's not very difficult, but I will say that the longevity is better with the sticky base coat than it is with the foil glue, especially if you're just working over regular polish. Part of the reason is because in order for the foil glue to continue to be nice and excuse me, for the foil glue to be nice and tacky, it continually stays sticky. So for example, if I painted some of this on my nail and came back like 2 hours later, it's still going to be sticky. But that's the kind of strong adhesive you're going to need to tackle these more thicker foils versus a foil like this. So if you're using the sticky base, which is just a regular sticky nail polish, it's going to be really easy to transfer this, and you're not going to need to have something as intensive as this. For those of you that are asking, will anything else work? Regular polish, meaning not our sticky base, does work, but the timing of it is so hard. Even for me, who is a professional and has worked with nail foils hundreds of times, I even struggle to get the timing right when I'm working with regular polish. So the sticky base coat and then the nail foil glue are my two like foolproof ways to always get a nice clear transfer. So let's try and do some demos because I'm sure you want to see that. The first one I'm going to do, because I know everyone is curious, is a full coverage look. So I'm going to grab my black holographic foil. Isn't this pretty? Look at how cute this is. And I'm just going to cut off two small, well, let's see. I'm going to cut off two small pieces. So here's my first piece, and you don't really even need that much. And then let me cut my second piece. Whoops. And this is my second piece. So again, be careful when you're handling it. I feel like I squeezed it a little too hard, and you can see the little nicks that I made there. And then give me 1 sec, everyone. It's so funny because I'm like, I'll prep for the live, I think I'll have everything that I need, and then all of a sudden, I realize that I'm missing something important. So, okay, well, send me good vibes, everyone. I'm hoping today is not a lemon difficult day. But it's already feeling a little bit like that. So my nail scissors magically disappeared and walked away, and now I'm just going to be using some kitchen scissors that I have. Okay, so for those of you who want to do a full transfer, what you're going to do is you're going to take your foils and you're going to cut it into thin strips. So I believe I covered this covered this technique in our Mani by Me live. And you're gonna do something like this. When you do this, you wanna make sure that you leave an area that is not cut. So that way all these strips can be still attached. And then I'm gonna show you what's gonna happen. Then you're gonna take your foil and you're gonna lay it on the nail like this. So I already painted a base with Black Magic, and as you can see, it really helps to work with this pretty holographic foil. Now, if you have your stamper, okay, so if you have a stamper, I recommend that you use it to grab your foils, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a sec. So you're just going to go ahead and grab your stamper, and with your foil facing downward like this, let me move this out of the way. So your foil is going to face downward like this. You're going to take your stamper. Oh, you see, be careful when you do this. It's like a magnet. I don't even know how to explain it. So you might want to go a little faster than I did, because I don't know if you saw, but like the static cling or something just picked that up instantly. So there we go. This was a much better way to just grab it. So I didn't put anything on the stamper. Like, the foil is just super thin and it just instantly grabs to the stamper head, which is amazing. Now I'm going to go ahead and use one layer of sticky base coat. You're just going to apply it all over the nail. And then you're going to let that dry for about 30 seconds. So I'm going to put that over there, and in the meantime, I'm going to cut this one, and I'm going to show you the difference between using a base on the nail versus not using a base and just doing a clear. So if you want, it doesn't matter how thick or thin you cut the foil, you just want to make sure that it is wide enough to cover the entire nail. Okay, so I'm gonna guess that this is not ready, even though I want it to be ready so bad. So we'll just like let that sit and chill for a second. So everyone, tell me, how was your weekend? Did you do anything exciting, or do you have any questions for me so far on this technique or foils in general? We are going to be covering so much more. Gosh, I can't wait to tell you and explain all the things. Okay, let's see. I'm gonna just give it a quick touch. I'm gonna guess that it's not ready. And the reason why I think it's not ready is because I can see a perfect reflection of my lamp. I can even see my bulb right there. So I'm gonna guess that this is not ready. Uh-oh, someone has a horde of kiddos on a sugar high. Oh, I wish you all the best luck with that. I'm sure they're keeping you tons busy. Okay. I think we're gonna chance it. I'm guessing cutting won't work for foils with designs on them. Cutting can work with foils with designs on them. Um, I've seen people do it and it doesn't look bad. You just have to make sure that you have a base that is neutral enough. Okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and stamp the foils on just like this. And then I'm gonna gently do that. I'm just gonna kind of press in those areas. You see how we have a little bit of bubbling here? That's completely normal. And you can kind of already see, let's see, can you see this here? The foil, there's like a little clear spot. That's because the foil has already started to transfer. Okay, now we're just gonna, oh, I'm so happy. Well, this happened on camera for you. Look at what happens when you don't wait long enough. I did not wait long enough. I was way too impatient, and now the polish pulled off the design. So, in this event, let's see if we can still salvage it. So you're gonna need another piece of foil if this happens to you. And then, whoop. Because the polish is still tacky enough, I might be able to just go in and do that. I am. So I'm not cutting it at this point because I feel like we already got a pretty decent transfer on some of the other parts. So now I'm just gonna go ahead and fill in those spots. And so now you got to see firsthand why it's important to make sure you are much more patient than I am. I can be so insanely impatient, especially on the lives, because, you know, there's so much going on, and when we're just waiting for polish to dry, it can be very boring. I know you guys want to see all the action happening. Okay, so this is what happens. Sometimes you have a little oopsie, which I did, and I was still able to fix it by just taking another piece of foil that I didn't cut and going over again while the polish was still tacky. This will only work if the polish is slightly tacky. If your polish is super duper duper wet, if you continue to do this motion, it'll probably just continue to like pull off polish. Yeah, this is the real. Sometimes these things happen, and that's okay if they do, because you get to learn from my mistake, so that way you know exactly what not to do. I'm gonna attempt this again, and this time I'm not gonna leave a base. I'm just gonna do it on a clear nail tip, and I'm gonna show you why it's important to have a black base, or like whatever color base your foil is. You need to make sure that the base of the nail is a similar color, because this is what happens when you don't. Okay, so we're gonna try and see if I have the patience to let this properly dry. So I will leave it there. And then I'm gonna put my foil down on the surface again, just like how we did earlier. Oh, everything's sticky. And I'm gonna use my stamper and quickly pick it up. Yes, I applied 1 coat of sticky base coat. And that will help adhere our foil. So we're just gonna give that a good like 30 seconds to dry. I also painted a really thick layer, so we might need to do, you know, like a little more than that. Just kind of be patient. Don't be impatient like me, because, you know, you're gonna end up with this. And I mean, this honestly doesn't look bad considering what I did, but it could have looked a lot cuter. It could have looked, you know, a lot more smooth. Right? It was a lemon, honestly. I'm gonna have to paint another one of these with the black magic, just because That's going to drive me crazy. But at least you got to see how to fix it in the event that that does happen to you. So we're just going to go ahead and paint one coat of black magic, and that's going to dry. So I'm just going to leave it alone and be patient. But again, I'm really happy that I showed you how you can quickly fix something like this, because I think this is still salvageable. Like, if we put a little top coat over it, like, I don't know, is anyone gonna notice? I don't think they're gonna notice. Do you guys think that this is dry yet, or do you think I should wait some more? Right? We'll just call it a nice distressed look. For those of you who, oh, okay, wait, Jessica said that she used the sticky base and then bubbles showed up. That means that the sticky base was either the sticky base or the top coat was applied too thickly. One of those were either applied too thickly, or the base might have not been dry enough before you applied top coat. So then the bubbling happened. Okay. Oh, no, you see, still not ready. Too impatient. Yep, we'll just give it a couple more seconds. And then after I do this demonstration, I'm going to show you our cream foils so you can see the difference and how they apply. Okay, let's see, hopefully. All right, I think it's go time. Oh. Okay, so I'm just gonna push down any of those bubbles. Because this is plastic, obviously, it does have a little bit of bubbling. Now, I'm gonna see if I can nope. Okay. Do you see why we need to apply a black base now? Granted, the texture of this is a little weird just because it's bumpy since I had to like stamp or reapply the foil, but you can see that there is a holographic coverage. Like, the entire nail has a little bit of that like holographic vibe. Here, let me see if I can, if the light helps. Okay, so take a look at this nail. Even though the texture is weird underneath, the transfer looks pretty flawless. Now look at this transfer. You can see all the areas the foil didn't transfer, or maybe I didn't get the timing right. So because of that, even more so, I got a spotty transfer. This is the reason why, if you're trying to get the full coverage look, I highly, highly recommend applying a base of a similar color as your foil, so that way, should this happen and you get like these weird little gaps, you end up with still a pretty full covered looking design. Because if I had my black base underneath, or if I had this base underneath, it would have been a lot harder to detect all these little weird gaps. Okay, so for the people who are asking, why do we cut the foil like this? It's so that way it can lay concave against the nail. Actually, I'll show you in our next demo. I'll show you what happens when we don't cut it. So tip number 3, if you are working with foils and you want a full coverage look, make sure to apply a base of a similar color before applying your foil. So that way you have a seamless full coverage look. More similar to this. Okay, so now on to what happens when we don't use the foil like in a strip way like this. So if you don't use your foil in a strip, I'm not even going to bother applying the black holographic just because You guys already know that tip now. I'm just going to go straight into it and apply a coat of the sticky base, and hopefully I won't overdo it this time. Okay. So let me show you what it's going to look like if we apply without cutting. So grabbed another little piece of foil. Let's see if we can get this to dry. Give it a few more seconds. Oh, did I ding it? Okay, parts of the foil are ready, or parts of the nail are ready, but not everything. Thank you, Carol. I was talking to a nail friend and she said she's all about doing nail art that is high impact and low effort. And I am so here for it. That's the type of manicure that I'm wearing today. High impact, low effort. And that's what nail stamping is, basically. High impact with a very low effort. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what happens when we try and transfer the foil. I don't know if you can tell, but there are some spots that are missing here. Now, especially on like the edges, if you do this, I highly recommend that, again, you apply a base. Like if you don't have time to cut the foil and make it concave to the nail, that's fine, but make sure you apply a base, because if not, you're gonna have some really unsightly like areas, or it's just gonna be like a different look. It's gonna be a much more distressed look, which again, if that's the vibe you're going for, that's completely okay. But if that's not what you're looking for and you want that full seamless look, more like this nail, for example, I recommend doing the strip method. So, and you can usually, you know, do a partial correction using the foil this way if you want, but sometimes this technique also doesn't work, especially if your base is already dried. And if you're working with a foil like this, it will absolutely not work. So I will show you in a sec. So this one was okay. It wasn't too bad, but you can still see that there are some gaps that we maybe didn't want. Even though that this is very textured, the transfer was better. Yes, get psyched for your foils. This is the live to get you hype about your nail foils. Okay, now I'm going to show you what happens if we try using a thicker foil with this method. So again, the thicker foil has a tendency to be a little bit different to work with. It's not that it's, you know, hard to work with, but you need to understand there are certain things about foils, because again, they're all different. They're not all the same. So first I'm going to try using the sticky base, which again wasn't something that I recommended. And I'm just going to do a thin coat, because hopefully that's the magic trick for me. And then I'm going to put this on the side and let that dry. Then I'm going to go ahead and grab my foil glue. And we're going to go ahead and apply a layer of foil glue. So when you apply foil glue, it is a milky white color. It almost looks bluish. And you need to make sure that when you use foil glue, you have to wait for it to turn completely clear. If it is bluish at all, I applied a really thin layer, so it dried a lot quicker. Let me see. Okay, I don't know if you can see this here. There's like a slight blue streak, a little line right there. That's because the glue is still drying. If the glue is still drying, please do not try to put foils on it, because you're just going to start ripping up your polish base and you're going to get all this like weird, ugly, patchy stuff happening, and that's not the look we want. So make sure that this is completely clear and you only need a very, very thin layer. So we're going to put this on the side while it dries, and then we're going to take a look at our sticky base over here. Okay, I think we're good to go. So now I'm just going to use the foil regularly. I'm not going to cut it, and we're going to see what kind of look we get. Very distressed. And if this is the look you're going for, that's great, but if you're looking for a full transfer design, this may not be what you want, and you might be able to go back in there and do a fuller cover by just quickly pressing the foil onto the nail. But sometimes that still doesn't work. And in this case, I don't think it's going to work anymore. So that's what happens if we just push it, directly on the nail like this. Yep, that's about it. So yes, a Rorschach effect. It's not exactly the full coverage thing that we're going for. It is a lot more of a distressed look. Now, if you want to create the seamless look, you're going to take your foil again, and we're just going to cut a piece off here. I really like this container that these foils come in because it keeps things nice and organized, and sometimes you need that. I know I do. Okay, so grab your foil. Remember that the bottom side, the matte side, should always face down. Now you're going to grab your scissors, and we're going to go ahead and do that trick that I was showing you earlier. And then you should have something like this. Put your foils down on your surface, your desk or whatever. Make sure the shiny side is facing up. Then take your stamper and do this, so that way the foils stick. Now we're going to take a look at this. Okay, so this is ready to go. It feels nice and tacky. And remember, with nail foil glue, the cool thing about nail foil glue is it will always be tacky, because that's how it adheres the foil to your base. So whether it's an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, a lot of times this is still going to stay tacky. Now you're going to go ahead and stamp it on the nail, just like that. Okay, so you see we have some weird little like bubbling. So I'm just going to go ahead and take my finger and kind of press that down. And for those of you who are wondering why is this happening, it's because there is a plastic film over the transfer foil to keep it protected. So without this plastic foil, it would be hard to transfer the foil and transfer the design over. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and remove it. Oh, I guess I still got a slightly distressed look. But the cool thing about this is, because this base is still sticky, remember, unlike our sticky base coat, the nail foil glue will continually stay tacky. So that means I have all the time in the world to go back and push in to the nail and try and transfer any bits. So we're just going to keep doing that until we have the desired look. So now you can kind of take a look. You can see that this one has a bit more coverage than this one because this sticky base coat eventually dried, and so when it dried, we couldn't do any more transferring. When this got removed and it still had a few gaps, we could go ahead with our nail foil glue and keep applying. Now, in this particular case, because these foils are matte and not shiny, you can actually continue to fix this, especially if you're using the nail foil glue. So if you're using the nail foil glue, you can take a very small amount like this. And also, if you get these little hardened, like, I don't know if you can see this, there's little hardened parts in there, don't mind it. Just like take a paper towel and wipe it away. It's still fine. It still works just as well. I'm not gonna lie, I've had my nail foil glue for years and I haven't had any issues. I just keep using it and it still transfers and does the job every single time. So I'm doing a very, very thin layer right on those areas where I wished I had gotten maybe a little bit more coverage. It's almost like using a dry brush on this. And then you're gonna give it a couple of seconds so that way it can continue to dry. Now, if we try that again, let's try it with the sticky base coat and see what happens. To be honest, I haven't tried it with a cream foil. I know what happens if I use a shiny foil, but I've never tried with a cream foil. So today we're gonna see if what I think is gonna happen does for this. Exactly. So if you're trying to get a more full coverage look and you don't want people to know that maybe you had a splotchy effect, I highly recommend using a base color that is similar to the color of foil that you're going to be using, so that way no one can see the little gaps. Let's see, is this dry? No, not quite yet. So we'll give that a couple of seconds. This one might be dry though. Yep, it's clear. It feels sticky, but not so sticky that it's on your finger. So when you touch the base with the nail foil glue on it, it should be sticky. But if you do this, you shouldn't have any residue on your finger. If you touch it and you end up with sticky residue on your finger, that's how you know it's not ready to do a transfer yet. So depending how thick of a coat you use and your temperature outside, I wanna say this will dry in like a minute. And if not, just let it go and let it dry until it turns completely clear. But this is ready to go. So now with my leftover foil, which never throw away your foils, by the way, even if it looks like this, don't throw it away because you can still use the other bits. You're gonna go ahead and do that. Look at that. Beautiful, full coverage. Just gonna go ahead and rub that in. And I could keep going and doing this until I get the desired coverage I want. So we have a much more covered nail. Now let's try with our nail polish. Hopefully it didn't dry on me. Oh, it didn't, look. It worked. So This technique specifically works well with our cream foils. So you can go ahead and reapply the bits and areas that maybe didn't get a full coverage effect. So this is what happens when we use the nail foil glue versus the sticky base coat. So as you can see, the sticky base coat didn't have as strong of a transfer as this did with the nail foil glue, and part of that was because the texture of this foil is a lot firmer. Versus I just needed sticky base coat for these 3 nails and it was so easy to transfer. I didn't need to use any nail foil glue to transfer these because they're softer foils, which made it very, very simple. Something else I want to show you is I showed you how to fix this. So tip number 4, in case you need to know, is in order to fix any gaps with your foil, you can go back with your nail glue and just reapply in the areas that maybe were missing, and then reuse your foil. And that's how you fix a spotted nail. Unfortunately, you cannot do that with this. And I will show you what happens when we use sticky base coat on like a metallic or shiny foil. So I'm just gonna put a layer right here. I don't know if you can see what's happening here. Take a look at the foil here. You see how shiny it is? And now can you see what's happening here? It's starting to like crack a little. Oh, there. Can you see? You see how it looks a little cracked versus over here where it's nice and smooth? That's where I put the sticky base coat. On the other side of the nail, let's apply some nail foil glue. You cannot just use any type of glue to apply foils. It's either sticky base coat or nail foil glue. If you're a gel person, you can probably use the inhibition from the gel after curing to transfer, but that's a whole nother thing. And we won't talk about that today because that can get deep as well. Okay, so here I applied a very thin layer of nail foil glue, and on this side I applied a very thin layer of the sticky base. Okay, I think the sticky base is ready to go. So I'm gonna use this foil to transfer. Whoops, I keep knocking the camera. Okay, so we got a partial transfer, but I feel like it wasn't as nice of a transfer versus when we use the nail foil glue here. So we're gonna try it on this side to see. Oh yeah, look at that. That was a really nice transfer. Okay, let's try again. So, my personal favorite to fix boo-boos on the nail is using nail foil glue. This is going to be a better option if you have any gappy spots like this. The nail foil glue is going to be a lot better for coverage. The sticky base coat, great for like one-time application or like a distress look, but if you have any like gaps that you need to fill, I like the nail foil glue much better because you don't have to worry about the timing, and then also the nail foil glue doesn't make the base get like all cracky, like cracked. Cracky? Is that a word? That's not a word. It won't get cracked or it won't crack the same way. So that is my other tip. When you're trying to fix your boo-boos, use nail foil glue. It will make things so much easier. Now, let me show you a few other things. So the other cool thing about using soft foils is that you can literally take some foil like this, cut a small piece, and then I'm just gonna cut like little shards like that. I'm gonna do the same thing with our cream foils, so that way you can see the difference in this technique as well. So just cut some thin strips. Okay. Ooh. Okay, so we have a few thin strips of gold and a few thin strips of white. Now you're gonna take, let's see, your tweezers and you're gonna flip them all facing downward. Oh, uh-oh, this might be a lot trickier than I thought. Well, if it doesn't work like that, we can always do it this way. So I'm just gonna do something like that. Okay, now for these, you can arrange it however you want on the stamper. So I'm just gonna go ahead and like make a funny little design here. And voila. Okay, so I went ahead and placed the foils on my stamper. Shiny side facing up as always, just like we said earlier. And these foils are so soft that you can take something like, actually, because I don't want to have to, let's see. I think I'm going to use nail foil glue because I don't want to have to worry about the dry time since I'm trying to talk and explain everything to you all. So I'm just going to take some nail foil glue and I'm going to put a thin layer all over the nail. And as you can see, this layer is so thin that we can't even see the, like, if it's blue or not. So even if you can't see whether it's blue or not, I would still give it 1 minute just to dry because you don't want to rush it. And then while that is happening, I want to paint a tip black because I want to show you something else. And we're going to let that sit while we're painting this. There we go. So we'll let that dry, and then we're gonna apply our gold foils. Okay, so this feels pretty tacky. Perfect. Okay, look at that. So I didn't even take the foil off. like the clear backing that's on here, we don't even need to do any of that. I feel like it looks good just as is. So if you want to do like shard nail art, like this kind of thing, you totally can. And when you're done, all you have to do is use either smudge-free top coat if you have it, but for this very particular look, you cannot do this with the other ones, but for this very particular look, you don't have to use the smudge-free. You can use a regular speed dry. And the reason why is because the speed dry won't cause cracking on the foil because the plastic coating is still on the foil, so it's still protecting the foil. Once you remove that plastic coating, the foil is sensitive, so then you need to use a top coat like smudge free that won't cause cracking. And I'm going to get into the top coat situation like a little later, because I'm going to do it all at one time so that way you guys can see the difference. But yeah, this was probably one of my favorite hacks that I figured out, was that you can just apply the foil with the protective coating on and all. And it's because these foils are extremely thin. I'm going to try this trick again with our white foil. So I'm going to go ahead and just apply it. Oh, whoops. So again, shiny side down onto the stamper, and the matte side should be facing you. So I'm laying it on the stamper so that way I can create my own little pattern. Yeah, get on there. Oh no, it's facing the wrong direction. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna find out right now if we can do the same technique with these foils. These foils are so thin that when you do this technique and you apply top coat, it doesn't stick up. However, we're gonna try doing it over our gray base here, and I'm gonna use my nail foil glue. We're just gonna go ahead and apply a thin layer in the center. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just like that. And then we'll let that dry for a couple of seconds. Yep, still wet for sure. Yeah, I'm sharing all of my secrets for nails, like working with nail foils on polish. This is seriously gonna cover everything A to Z. How to fix, I showed you how to fix gaps. I showed you what glues are best and for what types of foils. I showed you which side of the foil you're supposed to be using. And I'll show you how to top coat your foils after this. So these are nail tips that I did for the Maniology Live, not this past Maniology Live, or sorry, not this past Mani by Me Live, but it was the box before that. And I top coated this, I want to say with smudge free, or no, speed dry. And look at it, it still looks good. And look on the side of the nail. Let me move this out of the way so you can see better. It is smooth. No pieces sticking up on both sides. Isn't that cool? And that's because these metallic foils are so soft. But we're gonna see what happens when we try that technique with our cream foils, which are again a bit thicker. Oh, hey, I don't know. Well, hey now. I surprised myself. I was for sure thinking that this no way would work because it's a thicker foil and that it's going to stick up. But honestly, it looks like it's going to be okay. So I guess if you create like these kind of thin shard looks, then it should be fine. Maybe if I had like cut, for example, a circle with this, a circle with this foil, maybe it wouldn't have laid so nicely. But I think the trick is cutting it in thin shapes and shards to get it to lie flat on the nail, which is the same technique we had to use to do full coverage. Because again, when you cut these thin strips, it helps the foil to curve to the nail. So that worked out beautifully. I was trying to show you a boo-boo, but it turned into a happy moment. Excuse me. So now that I showed you 2 ways, how many ways? Yeah, I showed you 2 ways that you can apply these foils. Full coverage like that or like this. And like I said before, make sure you don't throw away your semi-used pieces like this, because you can still do one more technique, and I'll show you right now. So if you have foils that look like this, you can always crinkle it up like that, and then you see what it did to the foil? You see all these cracks now that we have inside the design? So this is perfect if you want to do a distressed look. So for the distressed look, I'm going to use this foil or this nail. I'm going to go ahead with my nail foil glue or your sticky base. And see how I have these little like that kind of thing? It's okay, just wipe it off on a paper towel. And then go about applying your glue. Just like that. And if you end up with more of them, like how I just did, just wipe it off. And now, good as new. Make sure that when you close your nail foil glue, you always close it tightly. So we're gonna give this a few moments to dry before we go ahead and jump into it. Also, I wanna see if I can get the full transfer again, like how I tried to earlier, before things got real lemon difficult. This time I'm gonna use my nail foil glue instead of my sticky base coat. So something to note about the nail foil glue, for those of you who like to wear your manicures for days and days, the nail foil glue is not recommended for that. I feel like if you're gonna use the nail foil glue and you're not using gel or dip or whatever, you're just using regular polish, again, because the foil glue stays sticky, you're gonna need to top coat it. And even with that, depending how like much you use your hands and that, you know, if you're doing dishes and all that kind of stuff, sometimes it will feel sticky underneath there. Like the top coat will peel off and then it'll feel sticky underneath. So if you're trying to wear your manicure for several days and you're just doing regular polish, go with the sticky base. Because I'm on the live and I'm talking so much, I'm choosing to use the nail foil glue because I don't have to worry about wearing these for a while. Or if you're just trying to do like a special event or something like that, you can go ahead and use the nail foil glue. But if you are trying to wear your manicure for like, you know, 3 days or something like that, then I would just go ahead and use the sticky base coat instead. Okay, so I think this one's good to go. Yeah, this is ready. Okay, so now to create your distressed look, we crinkled up this foil and you're just gonna go ahead and apply it all over the nail. You can use your stamper if you want to, but I decided to just do it the old-fashioned way, as if I didn't have a stamper. And now this is the effect. So we have a very cracked, distressed look. And I did it on this nail for live a while ago. So you can see side by side how to create an easy distressed look using your foil. And again, make sure you always save your foils. Don't throw them away until they're like completely empty. Or even if it's something like this, I feel like you could still use it, because I could cut this up and use, turn them into like little shards. So try to reuse things as much as possible. Don't just throw it away after one use, because there's still more things you can do with it. And then we also don't want to waste. So that is our little transfer distressed foil look. The last thing that I want to show you is we're going to get this transfer right, like perfect. I'm going to get it. I refuse to give up. Okay, so here we go. One more time. So cut it into strips. Okay, I think this was almost a little too long. I'm gonna cut this part off. There we go. And then I like to use my stamper for this, and I recommend that you use your stamper too, because it makes it easier. So that way you get all those strips to lay nicely. I have to fix the head a little bit. Oh, whoops, you see? Already making mistakes. Okay, one more time. Oh no! It's got a lot of static. There we go. Oh, stubborn. Okay, there we go. I am not giving up. Yeah, giving up is not an option. I'm getting this done. Okay, so our base is nice and sticky. Here we go. Okay. Now, go ahead and push down on any little weird parts that are bubbling up, like how I have right here. I'm just pushing it down with my finger instead of using the stamper. If first you don't succeed, try again. So you all watch me not succeed on the first try. So here we are, trying again, and voila, I did it. Look at that. Nice, pretty transfer. It looks very seamless for the most part. And if I really wanted, I could just go back and just retouch some of those spots. But I don't know. It makes it a lot easier. Exactly. That's correct, Grandma Mimsy. Cutting it into strips makes it so that way it lays nice and smooth on the nail. So we got a significantly nice full coverage transfer. Yes, you can also use a cotton swab to rub the foil onto the nail, or a silicone tool, which, by the way, we have some new silicone, what are they called? Like eyeshadow applicators. That would have been perfect for this to rub, because the thing about using a cotton swab is the fact that you have to worry that like a little bit of those hairs and fibers are going to get on the nail. But if you use the silicone eyeshadow applicator, you can just like gently rub. So that's what it looks like, and that's a full transfer. This is the most ideal situation. And you can see all the differences. Okay, now let's wrap this up, and I'm going to show you what happens when we apply top coat, shiny top coat versus like a non-wipe, or sorry, what am I saying? A smudge-free versus our speed dry top coat. So let's do smudge-free on this nail. So I'm gonna do a nice generous layer of the smudge-free over this. Okay. You're gonna see what happens while this is drying. Some weird things happen while it dries, but don't panic. I promise you it'll be okay. Now we're gonna use the speed dry, and we're gonna do it on another nail so you can see what the difference is. So this is just a normal speed dry top coat. This is like a regular top coat that you'd find, or not a regular top coat that you'd find anywhere, but this is going to mimic like traditional top coat. And what happens when you use a traditional top coat with nail foils. So you can already start to see it happening. Tip number 5, when in doubt, always use a smudge-free top coat for your foils. Because there is nothing worse when you spend all this time creating the beautiful manicure and then your foils start to get all messed up and they start cracking, which is what we're having here. I thought the weird thing was going to happen to this one, but it hasn't yet, so we'll see. So yeah, the foils, as you can see, they're starting to kind of crack on our under our speed dry top coat, which again is a lot more similar to like other top coats that are not formulated for specific uses like this. With this one, it's not happening here, and I don't know why. Of course, when I'm trying to show you a specific thing, it doesn't happen on camera, and it actually looks beautiful. Something that sometimes happens with our smudge-free top coat, in the process of it drying, the nail and the nail foil looks cloudy. Should that happen to you, do not worry, do not stress out. Once it dries, it'll look shiny and beautiful, just like how it first did when you applied it. So I don't know why it's not happening here. The nail still looks the same, but again, usually when you apply the smudge-free, there'll be some kind of like cloudy look to it. Just give it time, let it do its thing, continue to dry, and it'll take a little while. But once it does, it'll be crystal clear and your nails will be nice and protected. Your foils will still look beautiful. Even this, I'm like, I expected it. Oh, here, I feel like here you can really see. It doesn't look really holographic anymore on this particular side. Let me see. There you go. When I move it, you can't really see the holographic nature. On these other ones you can, surprisingly, but here you can't. And usually when you apply a regular top coat to your foils, it'll make the whole nail look like this. It'll just kill the shine. It doesn't really matter if you're using, for example, a cream base. So let's try it with this. So we're going to use our speed dry top coat again. And because these are cream foils, they're not shiny foils, might be okay. Yeah, I think this is going to be okay. Because the cream foils don't have any like sparkle or anything like that, so there's nothing for it to ruin. But for our metallic foils, our shiny foils, any like specialty finishes that aren't cream colored, there's a higher chance that it's going to do this kind of thing to it. Wow, I'm actually really surprised though. Like this side of the nail still has like some holographic shine. And again, usually when I've tried our speed dry over our foils, it just does that to all of the foils. It makes them all crinkly, but I don't know. Today you guys are giving me like really good luck, I think. It's just extra, extra good. Am I going to be doing a video on our full coverage nail tips? Yes, I am. So not this live, not this upcoming live. It'll be the live after that. We'll be talking about it because I know you guys have a million questions and I'm going to answer all of them. I know what you mean. I completely understand. I always get sucked in and want products too. By the way, I am wearing the full coverage nail tips here, and let me tell you, I love them. I am so obsessed. I'm not gonna bash any brand, but there is a very famous brand that is known for their full coverage tips, and honestly, I love them more than that brand. And I've had years of experience with that brand, and I am so much more in love with our tips, and part of the reason why is because I have tiny nail beds, so finding the right size is very difficult for me. Also, I like the fact that these new full coverage ones, they're so thin, but we'll talk about it more later. Okay, so as you see, we did the smudge free or the speed dry on top of this, no issues. And I'm going to try it on this nail too, and I don't think we're going to have issues. Pop quiz though. Why aren't we going to have issues when I apply the speed dry top coat over this whole nail? The person who gets the answer right gets a gold star. Do you guys know why this won't have, or this shouldn't have any issues when I apply the speed dry top coat instead of the smudge free? Rosa, you got it. Nailed it right on the head. The reason why we can apply the speed dry top coat or any top coat over this design is because there is a plastic coating still on the foil. We didn't take away the plastic coating. Yep, the coating is still on. And because the coating is still on, that means that the foil is not going to get all weird underneath. Because traditionally, if we apply a non-wipe top coat over, or a speed dry top coat, sorry, over a foil like this, you end up with a crinkled base. So I'm going to try it again one more time with this, so that way we can see if I can get that effect to happen for you all on camera. Oh, it's happening. It's happening, yay! Okay, so you see, we're starting to lose some of the shine. It's starting to get a little bit cracked looking. We don't have that kind of high shine luster. Yeah, I know, right? Look, it's happening right before our eyes. So this is what traditionally happens when you use a speed dry top coat or just like a regular formulated top coat over foils and chromes. You're gonna get something that looks more like this. And it just eats up all the prettiness versus us using the smudge free. You still have all that like hollow goodness. And here it's slowly going away. For the person who's asking, can we start selling cartoon nail plates? Copyright prevents us from selling a lot of things. And if you guys know the people in charge of copyright, hit a girl up, because honestly, it is very, very hard to find these people. A lot of them do not make themselves known, especially for like Disney stuff. They literally try very hard to make sure that you cannot find them. It's not like you can just like Google a thing, because everyone wants to do collaborations with larger companies, and because of that, they're very selective about who they try to partner with, and they also will charge exorbitant amounts. So if you guys have hookups to copyrighted things, or the people who approve copyrighted imagery, please feel free to reach out and send the link to Maniology, because we will look into it. It's not that we don't want to give you all that stuff. We do. Okay, so let's try our smudge-free here and see what it looks like. Look at that. Still beautiful. I still see all that shiny rainbows. Now you can really see the difference here. Shiny rainbow, no rainbow. So my final tip of the day for everyone: when you are selecting top coats to protect your foil design, always, always go with a smudge-free. There's only one case when you don't have to worry about that, and that's this. But if you're in doubt, you can still use a smudge-free. So always opt for a smudge-free if you want to protect your foils over something like a traditional top coat. I think I answered like all the questions, but if you guys have any other questions, please leave it below. Because, oh, very interesting, Grandma Mimsy. Please put in your questions, because I would love to answer them, and I feel like I answered majority of them though. I mean, is there anything else that I didn't answer? I know, Boss Up Nails, I know you want the cartoon plates. See if you can go get the copyright issues for us, because it's rough. And it seems like we don't have any questions. Tiana, is there anything that I missed? Any questions that I need to answer? If not, I don't know. Seems like you guys are good. Oh, okay. Are my nails foil? My nails are using some of Maniology's flakies. Oh, I'm so happy you guys got a lot of information. I'm using like 3 or 4 different types of glitters to create these nails, and some rhinestones. So that's part of the reason why they're extra sparkly. We do have a blue regular polish that I think would be really pretty. Tell us about what we're wearing. Oh, what am I wearing? Okay. What did I eat for lunch today? I ate something called cream stew. It's like a Japanese dish, and it was really easy and delicious, and I ate it with some rice. And today's nails are using the Maniology nail tips, and then I am using our flakies that we have. We had like a translucent kind of blue flaky, and I'm using that. And then I'm using like fine glitters. So we also sold a reflective glitter. You can mix a little bit of the reflective glitter with like this blue polish that we have on the site. It was one of our regular polishes. It was like a sheer blue with sparkle. I think it came in like a fairy tale collection or something. It was like fairy themed. And yeah, you can mix those colors up to create like a base like this. And then of course, add some clear gems, which is what I did, so now they're ultra sparkly. But yep, that was pretty much it. This was, again, high impact, low effort type of manicure. But I sometimes wonder if you guys would like these types of like clear gems. They're a lot of fun. These ones are really big, but maybe if we got you guys like small ones, you'd like it, because then you could wear it with polish. So if you guys like that, make sure you tell me in the comments below, and then maybe in a future launch, you'll see some clear gems. Anyways, I think we kind of got everything covered. I feel like, that was pretty much it, right? Today was a very long live. Thank you everyone who stayed on with me. I really appreciate it. And again, I hope everyone has an amazing week. I will talk to you guys later. Bye.